Right, so let me describe a morning. You get up off the sofa, just the sofa, nothing dramatic, just standing up from a seated position like a normal human adult. And there it is, that noise, that deeply undignified collection of sounds your body now makes on the way up. A sort of creak-groan hybrid that you are fairly sure did not exist 5 years ago. You stand up, make the noise, look around to check nobody heard it, and then just carry on with your evening like that did not happen. Or the stairs. You are walking up a normal flight of stairs in your own home, and by the third step, your legs are already having a quiet word with you. Nothing catastrophic, just a sort of low-level suggestion from your knees that perhaps you should have thought this through. Or the floor. Somebody drops something, or one of your kids wants to play something that involves actually sitting on the ground, and you stand there for just a moment too long doing the mental calculations. Not whether you want to get down there, whether you feel confident about the getting back up part. Or you just feel tired. All the time. Not ill, not dramatically exhausted, just sort of running at 70%. Like a laptop that charges to full but always seems to drain by lunchtime. Most men do not wake up one day broken. Their body quietly warns them for years first. The problem is that most of us have become very good at not noticing. My name is John. I'm in my mid-40s, I've got 2 young boys, and I have spent a frankly embarrassing amount of my adult life assuming my body would just sort itself out if I left it alone long enough. Which, it turns out, is not how bodies work. Not even slightly. Having kids changed how I think about this. Not immediately. I was tired for the first few years of being a dad, in a way that genuinely prevented any kind of coherent long-term thinking. But gradually. You start watching your boys run around and climbing things and throwing themselves off things with zero concern for consequences. And somewhere in the back of your mind you think, I want to still be able to do things with them when they're older. Not in a Hallmark film way, just in a practical, basic, can we still kick a ball about in 10 years way? And you realise, maybe for the first time with any real urgency, that that is not guaranteed. That it requires some maintenance. That your body, left entirely to its own devices while you eat biscuits and go to bed too late and sit at a desk for 9 hours a day, will not necessarily cooperate. So, 5 signs. 5 things your body is quietly doing right now that most men wave away as just getting older, when actually they are early warnings that deserve more than a shrug. The first one is stairs. Not climbing a mountain, not running a marathon, just ordinary domestic stairs. I remember noticing this properly for the first time a few years back. I was carrying a laundry basket up to the first floor. Ordinary basket, not particularly heavy, normal amount of clothes in it, and I got to the top and I was slightly breathless. Not gasping for air, just more out of breath than a man carrying a basket up 12 stairs should reasonably be. And I stood there on the landing thinking, that is not right. The stairs test is a useful one because stairs are honest. They do not care how busy you have been or how stressed work has been, or whether you have been meaning to sort yourself out since February. They just tell you, clearly and without sentiment, what your cardiovascular fitness and leg strength are currently doing. And for a lot of men, by their late 30s or 40s, both of those things have been very quietly declining for quite some time. Not because of some dramatic event, just because the movement that used to be built into daily life, the walking, the physical jobs, the sport you used to play, has gradually been replaced by sitting. In the car, at the desk, on the sofa. The legs that used to get a decent workout just existing are now mostly being used to get from one sitting position to another. The breathlessness is the cardiovascular side. The knees are often the weight side. The handrail is the balance side. Your world quietly shrinks when movement becomes effort. And here is what makes it insidious. It is so gradual that most men do not notice the shrinking. You just stop taking the stairs when there is a lift. You just park a bit closer. You just sit down in the queue. You do not decide to get less capable. You just keep making the slightly easier choice every single day, and the capability quietly erodes while you are busy doing other things. The second sign is the floor. This one is, I think, deeply emotionally honest for any man with young children. My youngest went through a phase, maybe a year ago, where everything had to happen on the floor. Games on the floor, drawing on the floor, wrestling on the floor, stories on the floor. And I would sit down there with him and it was fine. Genuinely fine. Getting down there is easy enough. And then he would want to continue for quite a long time, as children do. And somewhere around the 40-minute mark, I would become extremely aware of my hips and my lower back. And I would shift position and nothing was quite comfortable. And I would spend the last 20 minutes of floor time essentially performing the behavior of a man enjoying floor time while actually planning my exit strategy. And the getting up. I have developed a system for getting up off the floor that involves a specific sequence of movements and usually one hand on something solid for the final phase. It is not elegant. My son finds it funny, which I choose to see as a positive contribution to his joy rather than a commentary on my mobility. But here is the thing. The floor is not actually the problem. The problem is what the floor is revealing. Getting up and down off the floor comfortably requires a combination of hip mobility, balance, coordination, and leg strength. Not extreme amounts of any of those things, just normal, functional amounts. And when that gets difficult, it is usually because one or more of those things has been quietly declining, often for years, because we stopped asking our body to do it. There is actually research suggesting that how easily you can get up from the floor is a reasonable predictor of longer-term health outcomes, which is either fascinating or depressing, depending on how your floor situation currently is. The body keeps what it uses. When you stop getting on the floor, it stops making it easy. And before long, you are not just awkward on the floor, you are avoiding it entirely. You are standing at the edges of your children's games because the participation has become logistically complicated. Third sign, everything starts hurting more. Not dramatically, not injury-level pain, just a background level of aches that were not there in your 20s and are now very much part of the furniture. Morning back stiffness, knees that lodge a complaint on the way downstairs, a hip that flares up when you have been sitting too long, or walking a bit further than usual, shoulders that are apparently always slightly annoyed about something. Now, here is the part where I want to be honest, rather than just confirming what most men already use as an excuse. Some of this is age. I am not going to pretend that is not a factor. Things do change. Things do stiffen slightly. Recovery does take longer. That is real. But a significant amount of what men in their 40s blame entirely on aging is actually a combination of inactivity, weakness, carrying extra weight, sleeping badly, and spending too many hours in positions the body was not designed for, which are all things that can be changed. A body that rarely moves well eventually stops moving well. The back that hurts in the morning is often a back that has been sitting in a slightly wrong position for thousands of hours and has lost the supporting muscle strength that used to hold everything in place. The knees that ache are often knees attached to legs that are not particularly strong, carrying more weight than they used to, with hips that are not moving the load properly. The shoulders that always seem tight are often shoulders connected to a chest that curves forward at a desk all day, while the muscles designed to pull things back never get asked to do anything. None of this is glamorous. None of it requires a specialist opinion or a blood test. It just requires an honest look at what your body is actually doing every day and whether that matches what you are asking it to do. Sign 4. Tired. All the time. This is the big one for most men I talk to. Not sleepy exactly, just flat. Low energy. Like the baseline has dropped and nobody told you when it happened. You used to be able to get through a full day and still have something left in the evening. Now you hit 7:30 and you are done. Not ill, not miserable, just out. The tank is empty and it has been empty since about 4 in the afternoon. Brain fog in the mornings. That thing where you sit at your desk for the first hour and your thoughts feel like they are being processed through something slightly damp. The coffee that used to kickstart you now just takes the edge off the bad. Some of this is sleep. A lot of men in their 40s are sleeping badly and calling it fine. They are in bed for 8 hours, but the quality is poor. They are waking up at 3, or lying awake too long, or going to bed too late, after too much screen time, and wondering why they feel grim at 6. Poor sleep is not just tiredness. Over time it affects mood, appetite, concentration, and the body's ability to recover from anything. It is one of those things where the decline is so gradual that you start to think the flatness is just your personality. Some of it is hydration, which sounds boring but is genuinely responsible for more foggy-headed afternoons than most men would care to admit. Some of it is diet. A diet that is mostly beige and grabbed between meetings is a diet that runs the engine on the cheapest possible fuel. And some of it, paradoxically, is inactivity. The instinct when you are tired is to do less, rest more, conserve energy, which makes sense but is, unfortunately, often the wrong answer. Regular movement, and it does not need to be dramatic movement, increases energy over time. It improves sleep quality. It helps with the brain fog. The tired man who starts walking every morning does not feel worse. After a few weeks, he usually feels significantly better. The body is not trying to trick him. It just needed to be asked. The fifth sign, and this is the big one, is that you have stopped challenging your body at all. Not stopped going to the gym necessarily. Stopped challenging it. Stopped asking it to do anything it has not already decided is comfortable. Think about the physical demands of your actual week. Can you remember the last time you ran anywhere, even just to catch something, and it felt manageable? The last time you lifted something genuinely heavy? The last time you climbed something or carried something for a long distance? Or played any sport? Or moved your body in a way that required actual effort and coordination? A lot of men, if they are honest, have settled into a set of movements that is quite narrow. Walk to the car. Sit at the desk. Walk to the kitchen. Sit on the sofa. Maybe some light DIY. That is not a physical life. That is maintenance mode. Your body only keeps the abilities it thinks you still need. This is not a metaphor, it is physiology. The muscle you do not use reduces. The flexibility you do not maintain reduces. The cardiovascular capacity you do not test reduces. The balance you do not practice reduces. The body is not sentimental. It does not keep things around out of loyalty to who you used to be. It keeps what you use, and it lets go of what you do not. And this compounds. The less you challenge yourself, the less capable you become. The less inclined you feel to challenge yourself, which makes you less capable still. It is a very quiet spiral, and most men do not notice it properly until something interrupts the story. A moment where you genuinely cannot do something you assumed you still could. A holiday where the walking was harder than it should have been. A game with your kids where you had to stop earlier than you wanted to. Comfort is not the problem, exactly. Rest is important. But when comfort becomes the permanent default and discomfort becomes something to be avoided at all cost, the body starts shrinking to fit. Now, here is the part where I'm not going to tell you to sign up for a triathlon or buy a lot of expensive equipment or overhaul your entire life by next Monday. The honest good news is that the body responds to improvement quickly. Not dramatically, not immediately, but surprisingly quickly. Faster than most men expect when they have been told for years that everything gets harder as you age. Start walking. Properly, every day for at least 30 minutes. Not aggressively, not with a fitness app barking instructions at you. Just walking. It sounds almost insultingly simple. It is not. Walking done consistently is one of the most powerful things a man in his 40s can do for his cardiovascular health, his weight, his sleep, his mood, and his legs. The stairs start feeling manageable again, usually within a few weeks. That is not a miracle. That is just the body responding to being used. Get on the floor. Not to do anything complicated, just to sit there with your kids, or to stretch, or to practice getting up and down until it feels normal again. The hip mobility and the coordination that makes it easy are not gone. They are just dormant. They respond to being asked. Do some basic bodyweight work. Squats, press-ups, anything that asks your legs and your core and your upper body to support your own weight. Nothing extreme, Nothing that requires a special location or a significant time investment. 10 minutes, done consistently, changes things over months. Sleep better. Not longer, necessarily. Better. Go to bed before you are completely destroyed. Put the phone down an hour earlier. The energy and the mood and the brain fog are all connected to this in ways that nothing else fixes as efficiently. Drink more water. Eat one more meal a week that is not beige. Move a bit more on the days you are busy. The bar is genuinely not where most people imagine it is. You do not need to become an athlete. You just need to stop completely neglecting your body. The point is not perfection. The point is direction. A man who is moving in the right direction, slowly and consistently, ends up somewhere very different from a man who keeps meaning to start. My boys are still young. They will not remember me from this age. What they will remember is who I am when they are teenagers, when they are young men themselves, whether I can still go on walks with them, play football in the garden, carry things, move through the world without it costing me too much. That is the version of me I am trying to look after right now. There is a man somewhere in his late 50s, sitting on the edge of the bed, putting his socks on while staring at the carpet, quietly furious that nobody told him plainly enough, while it still felt optional, that the small daily decisions about movement and sleep and looking after himself were not small at all, that each one was a vote, that together they were building the body he would be living in for the rest of his life. I do not want to be that man, and I want my boys to understand, long before I ever had to, that this is not about vanity and it is not about performance. It is about staying capable, staying present, staying in the game long enough to matter to the people who need you. Your body will carry you through your entire life. The question is whether you look after it before it starts asking you to.